Hello, welcome to my cake kitchen. I am Gladys. I love cake, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate baking and decorating easily. Today we are back with another cake related tutorial, and what are we doing? I'm going to take you through, see the imperfect cakes we see here. I'm going to take you through the basics of how to turn what may look like a problematic cake into a well-presented, professionally decorated cake. That's what we're going to do. More often than not, when I have cakes, you have the cakes made as in baked well. Ideally, your cake should be able to rise well, dome properly, have a nice height or rise to it. And then with your tools, you level your cake, you stack them, you fill them, and then you cover them in buttercream and everything else in between. But what do you do if your cake doesn't play ball? What exactly do you do when the cake doesn't turn out as you want it, when the rise is not great, when you have lopsided cakes? Because trust me, these things happen in baking and decorating. So today I'm going to try and show you how I will turn these imperfect looking cakes. But there's a story behind these cakes. There were cakes I baked as part of a large corporate order. These ones didn't play ball and didn't turn out. And I even have some cake scraps that I cut. Those were cut-offs. Now, normally I would throw these away, but there's an opportunity to kind of set this up and use that as a tutorial or a learning opportunity for you. So if you are into cakes, you love cakes as much as I do, let's get right into it, because this lopsided, imperfect cake, we're going to make magic out of it. Trust me when I say we're going to make something out of it. But when you see a cake like this, the simple story is when I was filling my butter into my cake pan, the cake pan hadn't been greased properly, so the cake ended up stuck. I finished baking the cake. It seemed like a perfectly nicely baked cake. I went to turn it upside down and then it fell apart. Literally, this half fell off and then the other half was stuck in the cake pan. And it was in that moment I realized that all I had to do to get the cake right has failed, and I had to rebake a separate one. And this was also the same, except when I turned it out, this part fell out and then the rest got stuck in. There were two pans. So I think it was the butter, and then I didn't grease my pans very well. So I'm going to show you how to kind of level them out, get a nice height to it, and then stack them together for great results. And so that's, if we don't do anything today, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. But the good news is that we're going to do that. We're going to fill the cakes up, and then at the end of it, we'll transition to cutting up this cake. It's a roast beef cake that I made over here. It's not fully done, but I'm over it already. We'll get to cut it. We'll discuss the pricing for such cakes and more. And whilst we are on the subject of cakes, there's a bit of chatter on this side of the internet or our world. So there's Seven is greeting us. Hi there. If you're just here, if it's your first time here and you're in the chat, leave us a wave. Let us know where you're joining us from. If you don't mind, tell us what the time zone is wherever you are, just so that we get to know you. I mean, if it's your first time, over here we are not just making cakes. We have a community here, and our lovely sister Tabitha is in the chat. Tabs, how are you? The energy levels is a bit like this today because, oh, my house is wet. Damp, more like musty and damp. But I'll give you that story in a bit when we get to it. 4:30 a.m. Tabitha, this is commitment, right? So sending you hugs and a very good morning to you as you're waking up. I hope and pray your day is better. So now that we're at it, first of all, before we do anything, let's go and try and stack our cake scraps, just so that we know we can get some results out of it. They were the bottoms of cakes that I cut out. Shivan is joining us from Changa Changa. Okay. I don't know where Changa Changa is, but I hope it's a great place with sunshine and all happiness. Okay. Our friend from Changa Changa. Before we tackle our other cake, I'm just going to try and fill this leftover cake scraps because we're going to make something out of it. You know, we are. Hopefully, we have enough cream to fill it out. But if it isn't, anyway, if you're here, are you one for thin slices of cakes or chunky slices? I am neither here nor there. It's cake and I will have it. So are you a person who's like, I like my cake slices thin with lots of buttercream in the middle? Or you are like, I have never done the thin slices thing. These are just offcuts from let's see. Let's see. Shivan from Changa Changa. How is the sun over there? Is it sunny? Is the weather treating you nice? Do you like it up in Changa Changa? Is it Changa Changa? What is the time in Changa Changa? Tapeta. Tapeta, don't fall. I think Changa Changa is fictional though. I might be wrong, but my instinct tells me Changa Changa is a fictional place where Sivan lives. But if it turned out it's a place, it's really not a fictional place, that would be lovely. I've never heard of Changa Changa. Oh God. Tapeta going, where is it? I have never heard of it. Sure, that's because it's not real. Okay. There is 33 of us in the chat, people. Besides our friend from Changa Changa. And obviously our sister Tapeta from Oregon. Sivan, be serious. We know Changa Changa any place now. Stop it. Right. Okay. So we have filled this leftover cake. We're gonna let it set and then we will come back and cover it with buttercream. Okay. At this point, you might want to leave the cake to set completely before you do anything to it. The good news for me though is this cake was chilling before I set it up. Now let's look at how tall this cake is. It's 4 inches. So this either looks like this is a 6-inch cake anyway. It looks like a 6-inch 2-layered cake baked at 3 inches or 2.5 with filling, so 2 layers, or 3 layers of maybe 2 inches each. That will set you up like this. So there you have it. Okay, so we'll be back to cover this in buttercream. In the meantime, let me leave this on the side and then we'll get to the imperfect cakes. Dawn is back. Dawn, Dapita, Lollipop, and the rest of you people. I will be telling you what really happened, transpired in this house and why I have been stressed. Look, if you are over if you're over 35, leave in the chat how you cope with stress. Because stress becomes very physical for me. Like when I've been stressed for a couple of hours, I have to feel like it feels like I've been in a fight all day and I need time to rest. But I will be telling you what has caused me a massive amount of stress if it's your first time. But if you haven't been in the community post, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, because I had plans to come over the weekend and there were things on Friday we needed to do. And boy, Friday took a left turn. It went so left that my house currently, it's okay, but it feels musty and wet and damp. You know, the damp smell of like earth and dirt. Why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you because you guys were the real MVPs, sticking with me in the community post when I was hella stressed. I'll come and tell you exactly what happened. Who? Tapeta says stress. She need coffee, tea. Tapeta. Tapeta says, I'm watching my hair get gray. I'm just going to go here. Because if you don't see me with my eyelashes, I'm stressed and tired. Because all I wanted to do today, I promise you, all I wanted to do today was sleep. Because I'm like, I have been tired from the weekend. But anyway, just leave your tips. Leave your tips on how to manage and cope with stress. And talking about stress, I tell you who is talking about stress. I tell you who is feeling stressed today. The Beckhams. Have you heard? I mean, we haven't done a what's going on the internet corner, or I think we made it a point to stop talking about other people. Like we stopped mindless gossip, but this is such big news. I kind of feel like if you don't know, you should hear it here and perhaps go and check it out. And if you don't, at least we spoke about it. Talking about stress, the Beckhams are hella stressed this morning because, my dear, what do you do when one of your own decides that I'm out of the group chat and I'm going to try and spill all... I don't think he spilled all the secrets, but he spilled enough to get us talking. Have you heard? Oh, let's try and get to this. So, my people, whilst we're at it, let's finish the important part of the task. Let's get the task done. There is 46 of you people. Look, I come with my begging bowl, not to ask you for anything other than your likes, okay? Your likes, your hype, your comments, your interaction. Unless you're bored to death by what we are doing here, voice it. If you're bored, voice it. Tell us what you want to see. I make cakes and then I bring you a little bit of fun chatter, okay? And then the platform itself provides you the opportunity to interact with each other. So you see, Tapita and Shivan, our friend from Changa, and Dawn and Lollipop and Steph, and everybody is in the chat. You talk to each other. Even when I am busy and I've left you to the roadside, you kind of stand by the roadside and you catch up with each other, and it's great, right? So if you are bored, that body, like I'm not interested, tell us We want to know what bores you and what entertains you, okay? Because today, you have no idea where I drew my strength from to show up here. Because you know what? I have been stressed from the weekend. If you don't care about my life, well, for those of you who care, what happened, right? I wish I could show you, but if you check the community post, lately, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. This means it's the first time we've seen each other in 2026. Great to have you back, lovely. How are you? We miss you too. We miss you too, lady. How is baking for family? And how are you, my love? We miss you. We do. Last time you were here, there was sadness in the family, and oh, our hearts broke for you, my dear. How are you? How is you, as in you, lady, and how is the family? Whew, what a day. Great to have you back. So, anyway, why is my mouth so dry? Over the weekend, now I'm stuck between, shall we get to the work? Okay, let's get to this and then we'll get to the work and then we'll come back and talk some more. Lady says, baking has slowed down a bit, but I am okay. Thank God for that. We love you, okay? Before we continued, I was telling you, tell us if you're bored with us. And if you're not bored with us, just be kind, like the video, share it with somebody who loves to bake or decorate. Because these are like class-based resources. Forget the random chats and random conversations. What we are doing is actually an unfiltered way to kind of put a cake together. And what we're doing today is trying to put this cake together whilst also turning these imperfect cakes into a cake you can stack correctly and decorate. This is a whole process. We also, oh, first name, hurry and get to the point. First name, welcome to the chat. First name, you know what? We love you. We love your opinions. But if it's your first time, I think the name tells me it's your first time you're here. Can I just tell you, honestly, we are very long-winded here. We don't get to the point quite easily. And most of us are okay with that, okay? So here's the deal for you. We love you. If you want to stick with us, great. But if you feel like we are too long-winded and your attention cannot hold the random tangents in between, look, the internet is a wide place, so big, so massive and wider than the ocean. You can find a community that is straight to the point and quick for you, and you can go. The whole point of this live is to make it interactive. And making it interactive means that I show up with my long-winded and tangent-filled self, okay? And most of you guys who support me love it. And if you are not a lover of that, you know, no harm, no foul. We love you. Have a good one, okay? So you can stay or you can goodbye. All right? We love you. Bye. That said... Don't worry, we have sent him on his merry way, my dear. Don't worry about it. You know, the thing with the internet is that, you know what, there is choice for everybody, for you, for me, and so there's no need for us to even get into a fight over what you like and what I dislike and all of that stuff. But anyway, I was telling you about what happened in my house, okay? Right across on the other side of the camera, that if you're looking at the camera on the parallel side, as in the other side of the camera, there's a radiator right there. And over the radiator hangs a coat hanger, and we hang our coats and stuff. And sometimes when I finish hoovering and I do my housework, I lazily dump the hoover just by the radiator. And then the hoover tube kind of falls behind the radiator. Follow me on this one. So Friday morning, I was trying to get my son ready for school. We were in a hurry. It was like a lot was happening in the morning. Sometimes the morning is very busy. And Fridays are some of the busiest mornings I have with him. So under the radiator, so the top of the radiator, as in the wall where the radiator hangs, above the top of that wall is a coat hanger. But underneath, which is the carpet, we put our shoes, say if we come out of the house, like our everyday shoes, we put it under the radiator so that the heat of the radiator can sort of warm up the shoes. Because otherwise in the winter, when you wear your shoes, you go out and come out, unless you have like a warm place where you can put the shoes, they get really damp and cold. And sometimes you put your feet in and you feel like you're walking in damp, your feet are in something damp. So we put our shoes underneath the radiator. So the radiator sort of functions as like, the residual heat functions as like heat, drying heat for our shoes, if you like. So the hoover is on one corner of the radiator. Underneath the radiator is a set of shoes arranged. And then on top of that is the coat. So in the mornings, I get the joy of putting my feet in warm shoes, a warm coat, because the radiator heat goes up the wall, and then the coats that are hanging on the coat hanger kind of feel warm. So it's all great. And then I get the convenience of just taking my hoover and then getting on my business. Not exactly ideal. Find a place for your hoover, find a cupboard, but that's just beside the point. So girl, what did I do? I woke up in the morning. I'm trying to get my son ready. It's time to get his shoes. I pick up the shoes and I feel like the radiator is shaky. But it was such a quick touch. I kind of thought, oh, that must have been me. So I move on. I do all that I have to do. And then sometimes late morning, I come back and I'm getting rid of the shoes and trying to organize that little corner. And I feel the radiator creak a little bit towards me. So I'm like, I look at it. It's not a big deal. So I'm like, okay, let me get on my business. Whew. Later that day, I ran some errands and do stuff. I come back and I'm trying to get the hoover out of the place, put the shoes down, pulling out the hoover tube, the radiator literally falls out. Nothing prepares me for the shock of a whole radiator. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google radiator. These are like the sort of iron heavy ones, the old type. I mean, radiators come in all shapes and forms and sizes, and also these are some of the old horrid looking iron heavy stuff. I didn't know, up until this point, I didn't know that radiators were hanging on a sort of like there's a handle that the metal hangs on. I thought they were all like screwed to the wall. So the whole thing comes falling. My immediate reaction was like, my son, I was so grateful that he wasn't anywhere near it, because if he was, I don't know what could have happened. So in that moment, my heart literally leaps to my mouth and I'm like, oh my God, what has just happened here? I look and there are like pipes, as in metal tubes and stuff that I will have no idea about. But guess what? It fell and literally fell on the shoes. The long-windedness about describing where the shoes are placed is important. So the radiator falls and then falls directly on the shoes. So at this point, I have to get the shoes out. So in trying to kind of pull the shoes, which I couldn't do easily, I'm like, let me tuck the radiator back. Mind you, the radiator is hot because it was like working before it fell out. So it's hot. I go to hold it and it burns me and I literally leave the thing over there. And so when I hurriedly drop it off my hand, it falls at an angle, and one of the tubes connecting from the wall, I don't know where the source was from, but there's a metal tube that is coming through the wall connected straight into the radiator. So when I go to leave the radiator because it's hot, it falls at an angle and the angle sort of snaps the metal pipe. And that's exactly how I ended up with water gushing into my house. And I'm not talking dripping water. I'm talking like you've opened the tap, the water is running. Oh my God. I wasn't expecting that amount of water. So when the water started leaking, my brain literally froze. I couldn't think. Like in that moment, the first thing I was thinking, you would have thought with that happening, the first thing I would have thought was get a bucket to kind of collect the water. In that moment, I wasn't thinking. Like, I freaked out and I ran. I went and got my son out of the way because I don't know. In my mind, I thought, is this going to explode? Like, you hear about gas and radiators and all that stuff. Like, I am a chicken when it comes to that stuff. So I ran and I go and get my son, get him out of the way. He sees me panicked and he goes, what's the matter, Mama? I'm like, there's water. Anyway, that happens all very quickly. In that moment, I'm like, okay, let me call my estate agent so that they can send a contractor out. So I called the estate agent. They say they will instruct a contractor out, an engineer for that matter, but they won't be here until 40 minutes later. So between checking on my son, making this call, which is like, let's say a 5 to 8 minutes gap, the water is kind of like spilling, literally. In that moment, my carpet in the hallway is all like flooded, so flooded that my feet is submerged in water. So I come back, and at this point, I'm beginning to calm myself in my head. And it occurs to me, 40 minutes, what's the engineer, by the time they get here, the carpet will be gone and the place will be flooded. Like, and I couldn't handle the inconvenience. I'm such a creature for routine. And the idea that the house will be flooded and it will take days and even weeks to be sorted was just like, so it was just too much for me. So I was crying my head out. I don't know. And then I called the agent back and I'm like, is there, could the engineer advise on what we can do to stop the water in the meantime? Because 40 minutes is too long. She was like, call the engineer yourself. So I called the engineer. The engineer was like, I don't think there's anything you can do because the process to kind of seal the water before it stops, it's a whole process. You have to find there is a system and a tap somewhere that I have to go, but it's all like a plumber has to do it essentially. So ultimately I have to wait for him for the 40 minutes. So whilst I'm waiting for him, it occurs to me, okay, I can get a bucket and I can start collecting the water. I got a bucket and I tried collecting the water, and boy, the amount of water that I collected, you're talking a big mop bucket of water. And between the time, it was like half an hour's gap, and I remember counting at least 9 buckets of water. And every time, like, I was so disoriented by the whole experience in that moment that every time I had to get the bucket, it didn't occur to me that I had to replace it with some sort of bowl, because I was so scared of touching the radiator that I was so focused on the water now. So if the bucket got full, I just picked the bucket and then the water was still pouring, and then I'll go chuck the bucket of water. I'll come back and place the bucket back to collect the water from the leaking tube. And I kept doing that until the engineer came. Now that is where things went awry, because you would think that if the engineer came, he would solve the problem. Okay, now, Don, I heard a stopcock first time, and I don't know what the hell that was. The gas guy told me that there's a stopcock. That's like, I couldn't even say it. So anyway, but the stopcock, I'm told, is outside in front of the house, but you'll have to lift a metal thing and go and turn it. But that's just beside the point. So anyway, the gas guy comes, and this is where I'm going to try and tell you the story and still be graceful to this person. Because normally when engineers come, whether they are doing the gas inspection or they're doing electrical assessment or something, they are generally nice. Like workmen and handymen, I have not encountered like a bad experience with them, because you know what? They are the people holding the place together most of the time. Because you think all these people with white collar jobs and stuff, they will still need an electrician to go to the when the electricity goes off. they will need an electrician, which is a blue collar guy, to go fix it. So I have a lot of respect for them. But this is my experience, and I'm not attempting to talk down at this person. I hope you hear my heart, because it added a layer to the stress I felt over the weekend, right? So this guy comes. First of all, he walks in, no greeting, no acknowledgement. My doorway, normally when I have a workman come in, they knock on the door, I open the door, and it's as simple as a simple pleasantry, maybe a hello, hi, I am instructed by this person for this appointment. I normally don't even ask for anything, because I would have been expecting them. Except this guy walks in. The door was open because of the leaky water, and because I kept going out to chuck the bucket of water. So he gets here. I'm stood in the doorway. He literally barges past me, doesn't ask me anything. Nothing. Not, oh, what happened? Do you live here? Nothing. He barges past me, goes to look at the radiator, and chuckles. So at this point, I am stressed. I've been crying. I'm like a chicken. I don't know what I'm doing. Then I have a stranger barge into my house and then chuckle. So I'm looking and I'm thinking, ooh, what's happening now? Anyway, I take myself, and at this point, I carry myself to my lounge, and I'm concerned with my son, just taking care of the boy over there. Something like 15 minutes goes by, and this guy goes between the kitchen and my first floor, comes back down. No acknowledgement whatsoever. So when the 15 minutes goes by, I decide to come and ask him what's going on, just so that I have a sense of what to expect. Are we going to have heating? Like, how bad is this issue? I catch up with him right here, right somewhere here in the kitchen, because he leaves the radiator and then comes to the kitchen, and he's looking at something under my sink. So in the kitchen doorway, I wait for him to kind of finish what he's looking at, and then as he gets up to come back to the radiator, which is just like about 10 steps away from where I'm stood right now, I turn to him. I'm like, is everything okay? He goes to me, somebody turned something down there. You shouldn't have turned it. You turned, come to find out, whatever he said was turned is a sort of valve, but I'll tell you now, nobody turned anything. Nothing was turned under there. I live here, okay? I am so scared of wires. They are not my problem, okay? I'm trying to remember the name of the valve he says. It's a sort of valve that cuts off the local water supply in the kitchen. That's all. I would find that out later from a second opinion. But at that moment, right, he's like, there's a valve there. You turned it and it's been pumping water into the heating system. Oh my God. I felt like my heart has leapt out of my mouth, because I'm like, is the heating system broken, or is the boiler broken now? It's like, you shouldn't have done that. So I look at him with such surprise, because I know I haven't touched anything, and I'm the only person here with my son. And my son doesn't come to the kitchen. He only comes to the kitchen to get his food, and he's out. He's 8. He'll have no business turned it. Yeah, it's the valve here. It's something. I forgot what the name is. I'll tell you when I remember it. So at this point, I'm like, what? Like, the way he said it, right? I thought, because there's also the subject of liability problem, because if it is true that I went and I turned something on and it broke a boiler, my landlord is not going to be happy, honestly. But the truth is, I didn't touch anything. So there were a few possibilities. Could it have been the last time we had a plumbing issue that the plumber came out, didn't connect the tubes right? Is that the issue? But that was over a year ago. So if that was over a year ago that the plumbing was not done right and this valve was turned a way that it shouldn't, we've been living in silent danger for a year. Is that true? And if that is the case, what has that connection got to do with the radiator that just fell off the wall? Like, what is the connection between a valve under the sink to a radiator? Like, what's the connection? But in that moment, this man wasn't willing to answer any question. And I wasn't even being confrontational. It was just the shock and confusion and the stress and the fear I was feeling. So I stood there, I was like, sir, I can tell you now, nobody touched anything under there. Oh, I'm telling you, you did. Oh, Jesus. You know, on this on this internet, right? I'll tell you, I've seen creators like who are in relationships, and they will come on the internet and they will be like, you know what, these are some of the unspoken rules in my relationship, and they will label a few things and they will say, my partner or my husband, like they basically say, no handyman should ever visit their house when they, the woman, is there alone. And that for them, it's always important that a man is around. And every time I've seen a creator say that, it's not like I've rolled my eyes, but I never understood it, because I'm like, if a handyman comes to do their job and you're about your house being a decent, like reasonable person, what's the caution here? Because when I've heard those stories, they tend to emphasize on the risk that strangers, like a handyman stranger, may carry, and also the sort of perception about predatory behavior from men. And when I've seen those stories, I've just scrolled on by, because it's nothing that I can relate to, because I'm like, I live in a rental, and if the landlord has work to do, he will instruct somebody, and it's my responsibility to coordinate with that person. When I was with my son's dad, it never occurred to me that I will make him want to stay around because an engineer is coming, because his working shifts were such that in the day, I'm the person at home. Am I going to reschedule the appointment for a Saturday when the workman is most likely not going to make it, because their weekend rates are different? So for me, when I've seen creators put that out in the world, I've just scrolled on by. I don't have any opinion about somebody who lives a life different to me. But I tell you what, this weekend I understood it. This weekend I got it. Now, will I say I don't want a workman in my house, or I want a man to be my sort of guardian or companion when a workman is visiting? It's not that deep. But I tell you, this weekend I understood it. Because when the man said to me, right in this small kitchen, okay, just this small kitchen, this is him, okay, this light, this is him, and this is me. And he goes to me, well, I'm telling you now, you did. People, my knees buckled. I don't know if, one thing I knew was that I didn't want to fight. Certainly, this is like a middle-aged guy. No, okay, no, I wasn't going to fight. But the fear, for the first time, I felt threatened in my own home. And I felt so powerless. I felt incompetent, because I damn sure knew whatever he was telling me had happened was not true. But I didn't have the words to challenge him either. I didn't. So I just stood there going, I can tell you, sir, on anything that matters to me, all right, I haven't touched this thing. I'm telling you, you have to believe that. Perhaps there's a different explanation, but right now I can tell you that I live here by myself. So at this point, my son is in the lounge and he can hear. He's like, did I touch anything, Mama? I'm like, Rio, did you touch anything? He's like, no. So I'm like, well, I live here with my son, clearly. Have you seen me influencing him about anything? No, he didn't touch anything. And so well, somebody did it. And I hate to add that as this conversation is happening, this guy literally reeked of alcohol. And I mean, oh, the smell of alcohol, you won't miss it. Okay? So at this point, I'm like, this is not worth a fight for me. Okay, first of all, I know I didn't do this thing. Okay, that's fair, but the odds are against me. He's a man, he's a stranger. I wouldn't say he is drunk because I don't know that. I just know that his attitude and the strong smell of alcohol that just emanated from my interaction with him, it was like I just needed to cut my losses and just let it go, so that if I wanted to file a complaint with the agent, I could do that. So at this point, I called for backup. I literally rang my son's dad. I'm like, where are you? Like, I need help. He asks why. He knows me because when I get stressed about things, like, I'm like a chicken. So I tell him all that's happening. He's like, don't worry. Thankfully, he was about 10 minutes away from me. He's like, okay, I'll make a 10 and I'll come and I'll sort it. Guess what? When he pulled up in front of the house and he walked in and he saw this guy, at this point, I've ceased talking to the engineer. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, as long as he seals the pipe, we're done. Okay. I'm not even engaging with him. But my stress level shot up the roof because now I've gone from, is this radiator thing going to cause massive problems for me in terms of my landlord and everything else? Are we safe in the house? To now worrying about, oh, he thinks I've done something. Well, it's not he thinks, he believes I've done something. And so now I've gone from worrying about all of these things to adding the stress of, I didn't do that. And if you have been accused of something you didn't do, you will know what it feels like, right? The worst thing is, if you've been accused of something you didn't do, that's bad in itself. But if you know you can prove that you didn't do the thing, then you know you're okay, right? This I couldn't prove. It was him and his expertise and experience against me. And I don't have a clue what he was on about. Of course, eventually when I found out it was a separation valve. I think it's a separation valve. When I found out, that was later. That was 24 hours later because I ended up like ruminating and obsessing about what could this be and why would he tell me that? Is he saying that so that he can escalate the problem more than it really is, just so that he can apply charges because insurance will cover for him, right? So if he has an interest to kind of make the problem what it really isn't for monetary gain, then that's on him. But I don't know that. So my son's dad comes back in from wherever he was, walks in, addresses this guy politely, and it becomes like man talk. There wasn't a confrontation or anything. He just walks in and asks me again what the issue was. So I explained to him, and whilst I'm explaining to my son's dad what the issue was, this guy butts into the conversation and says, oh, she did something. So he starts accusing me. So my son's dad cut the conversation off with him and says, no, we're not about to do that. And so my son's dad finishes talking to me and then takes this guy out, and then whatever conversation they have, I don't know. But he comes back, he's like, just ignore it and just focus on him getting the job done. But it seems like his tone has like settled a bit. So the sort of aggressive confrontation this man was coming at me with, okay, when my son's dad walks in, and this is like a 6'1" guy, very stocky and tall. When he confronts this guy, whatever conversation they have, he comes back in and tells me, look, whatever aggression he's exhibiting towards you and nothing to do with you, and he's mellow now, he will do the job and we'll be done with it. Whew, I couldn't wait to see this guy off. Well, he eventually he seals the leak, okay? Partly. But the carpets are still wet. And they are not just wet, they are like submerged in water. So we are walking in water in this house by the hallway. And every time I step in the water, I feel uncomfortable. It's a sensory thing. I don't like it. I hate it. Like, it's a whole mess. The upset to my routine and And the stress of it, oh God. Anyway, that went all the way to Friday. So by Friday evening, I went and I got myself a carpet cleaner. I borrowed a carpet cleaner to come and get the water out. This was about 6 o'clock. From 6 p.m. till about 11 p.m. 5 water. And if you know anything about the Vax Power Pro, which is the Vax carpet cleaner, the draining compartment for the water is such a small compartment. So I only, because of the amount of water, I only have to like pull the Vax cleaner and the compartment is full and I have to empty it. The emptying and the filling and the empty and the filling, and oh God, I could have chucked that thing away. But I had more problems up the horizon, people. I had more problems than I needed, because guess what? As I'm draining the water, I feel the water is like reducing, and my feet being submerged is kind of like feeling better. It went from that to being damp, as in the carpet felt very watery, but not one that had my feet submerged in water. And so by 11 p.m., I am tired, I am stressed. And my stress is also like now extended to the accusation thrown by the engineer and where my responsibility is and what will happen. Like, I catastrophize things a lot. Like, if something is out of my control, like, first of all, making the accusation is bad enough, but not being able to prove it and feeling inadequate and not confident, it all like was piling up. So mentally, I was just like ruminating about the whole experience, whilst also physically trying to dry this water out of the house. So by 11 p.m., I was completely shattered. At this point, the carpet cleaner started, the sound in the carpet cleaner changed. It went from like the regular just roaring noise to just having, the sound changed in a way that made me feel like, oh, something could be wrong here. Plus, every time the sound changed, it felt like there was a burning smell. So at this point, I'm like, okay. So at 11 p.m., unwillingly, I gave up the water cleaning, the draining of the water, and thought, let me just rest this thing up. But then again, the thought of the carpet cleaner now sounding different put another layer of fear and stress. So I am over here Googling. I'm like, what could be wrong with the Vax Pro? And then a few suggestions came up that maybe it's due to overuse. Because if I started like collecting the water about a little after 6 p.m., 4 hours later, albeit a few breaks here and there, that's a lot of use in a short time. So the burning smell may be due to overuse. So give it a break. And then there was the worst one that said maybe the carpet has caught big bits, and the big bits are stuck in the rollers or the motor, and it's causing friction, and the friction is what may be causing the burn. So this is all happening on Friday. I leave the carpet cleaner on the side. Tell me why, after everything I have just told you, and the fact that I thought 4 hours later the water had reduced a bit, tell me why I wake up on Saturday morning about 8:20. And mind you, I didn't sleep very well. I come downstairs to check the carpet, and it is all the way back up, submerged again. Yeah, Dawn, you said what? Yeah, my darling. I was just checking the camera because Lions, I think Lions, I saw you in our last chat when I was doing, was it when I was doing the roast? I can't remember, but yeah, great to have you back. Oh God. when Seasons said she couldn't hear me, I went to check the camera. Oh my goodness, people. Yeah, I woke up Saturday morning and the water was back. Whew. My heart was gutted. Like, to say, it was almost like all that I had done. And you know what? Everything I've told you with the long-windedness, right? That's the highlights. The real experience of cleaning the carpet was anything but. Because you know what? Sometimes the compartment, right? You draw the water, you go to empty the compartment, as in the compartment comes in two. You have the fill tank, that is if you're washing the carpet. You have the fill tank that has the cleaner solution, and then you have the collection tank which collects the dirty water, right? And both are held up. Think about a lunchbox that has the clasp that closes to the side. Except most of the time when I am just in a tiff and all confused and just stressed, when I go to open the clasp, when you're opening the clasp on the side, you want to be careful to hold the container, as in the collection pot, instead of the clasp. But the way the top, as in the cover with the clasp, attaches to the container, it's almost like you have to make the conscious effort to hold the container itself, because if you accidentally hold the clasp or the cover, the collection pot falls down in the water. And I can't tell you the number of times I have collected the water and I've gone to clean the compartment and the water falls right back out. My people. My dear, that, you know what, I probably sound a little more precious than it really is, because at the end of the day it's just water that filled the carpet. It's not like anybody has died or we're fleeing a war zone or something. Like, it's not that deep, but that momentary stress, when I woke up Saturday morning, right, and the carpet was submerged, I literally broke down here, sat on my staircase, and I was crying like a baby, people. So I was like, I can't do this over again. I can't. And this time, the carpet cleaner that I was using the night before, I told you, was experiencing problems. Guess what? In my nightie and my just woke up self, thought, okay, let me just get onto it. I went to turn the carpet washer, as in the carpet cleaner, on to drain the water, because I hadn't figured out why the water is back. When I plugged the machine in and the machine was collecting the water right in the middle of it, the machine stopped. So in that moment, I was like, not again. So the machine is gone now. And I couldn't figure out what was happening, because it also had a burning smell. And between the burning smell and the machine stopping and the water, me standing in the water, I was like, oh. That was after my first lot of crying. So again, I call for backup with my son's dad. I'm like, where are you? I need some help. He's like, okay, I'm good. I'll come and help you. So he comes in within the hour. And this is all about 8 to 9 a.m. in the morning, Saturday. So he rushes in. He looks. When he walks in, he's like, but you cleaned this water yesterday. I'm like, yeah, but it's back. So he looks at it and he sort of suggests there might be a leak from somewhere that we don't know, maybe in the wall or something. So he tries to look around a little bit. He doesn't find anything. And guess what? As he's trying to work it out, he goes to look at the tubes that the engineer sealed off yesterday to stop the leak. Tell me why the tubes were not completely sealed. Remember the part I told you that the engineer stank of alcohol and seemed very unruly and not on the job? So I don't know whether he was pissed because of the confrontation he had with my son's dad. Like, I don't know what his issue was, but he failed to communicate that. Perhaps that is if it was like an intentional thing that he did, that, oh, I can't seal the leak completely, but I have sealed much of it for now. I'll be back tomorrow or something. No communication. He just partly sealed it and left the tubes. So the tubes he left were the part that had been sealed were literally on the carpet. So the water was silently leaking overnight. Hence the water back in the morning. So in that moment, I was livid. But there was nothing we could do. I called the agency back to speak to our sort of allocated agent, and she was not on duty that morning, and there was nothing they could do because we have heating, we have hot water. If it's the leak, it was our responsibility to manage it until Monday when they could address it properly. So I went back to put in a bucket. And at this point, I had just accepted my fate. I was like, let the water go. Let the water drain. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I'll be fine with it. So we were walking in the water back and forth all day Saturday. I was tired. I was mentally drained. And in all of this, I was mad at the engineer. I was still worrying about the accusations he was making that somehow this was my fault and everything else in between, on top of having to be a mom and do everything else. Oh, when I asked you, how do you cope with stress? Because for me, it was just, I felt like I'd been run over by a train. Like, I just felt like my body was aching because I hadn't slept well. I couldn't even think. I couldn't think. Every time my son was talking to me, I was like, away in my mind, just worrying about this one thing, which is a leaky tap. So Sunday came. The water was still there. I was still worrying. I didn't sleep Saturday either. So I woke up first thing Sunday about 4 a.m. to drain the water. And I had to keep waking up to drain the water because if I overslept and the bucket filled up overnight, I'll wake up to more water here. So I had to keep waking up Saturday night and Sunday night to kind of empty the water. But by the end of Sunday evening, I figured, well, the only water that is kind of still showing is the one we are collecting. The one on the carpet is fine. So I decided to hire a carpet cleaner from one of my local shops, like it's called Rag Doctor. And it's a really beast of a machine that does amazing work. So I got that machine out and it was able to kind of collect the water in less than an hour. So we went from walking in water again to the carpet feeling damp. But it did such a great job that as I speak to you, if I had had the carpet cleaner, that particular carpet cleaner, as in the Rag Doctor machine on the Friday when this happened, I probably wouldn't have the musty smell we have now, because then we'd be able to collect the water quickly. And if that was the case and the engineer communicated to us where the issue was coming from, we would have been able to seal the leak, at least manage it properly. But all of that meant that, like, by Monday, I was exhausted. Yesterday, I didn't do anything. Yesterday, all I wanted to do was catch up on sleep. And it's the same today. I woke up and all I wanted to do was, after doing the school run and my morning's tasks, which I couldn't even concentrate. But today, I was just determined to show up here. So my energy levels are completely low. Thankfully, yesterday, the guy was back out. He was better behaved yesterday because he was back yesterday morning. He was very polite, but I didn't engage with him at all because it was still me alone. And suddenly, the fear of a man being in my house and intimidating me was just too real for me. So we didn't engage on any level except for a good morning when I let him through the door. And okay, thank you. when he left. These were the two interactions. Otherwise, we didn't acknowledge each other. I just wanted him to get the job done and be gone, and he did. So after he left yesterday, I was like, okay, this is gone now. So I say all that to say the radiator is fixed, but the experience has left me with a new found, like, it's kind of brought me a different fear that I didn't have before, because suddenly now I just feel like I would feel safer if I had someone with me next time a workman is coming here. I don't know. Am I silly? Oh, lollipop. Okay. Let's see. Stress is your default. Oh, stress. Ah. Oh, whatever they were doing over there. We are here now. So our the radiator is fixed. That's all. Maybe I'll put a photo up in the community post so you will see what the hallway looks like. But in all of this, what I forgot to say was that I tried to hoover the big bits and the hoover broke too. Look, let's be done with this experience, okay? Let's be done. But for all of you in the chat, who were like Dawn, Lollipop, all of you who were just like in the chat with tips, and Prawn Cocktail was back temporarily, and she was passing me tips. She's like, drink tea, walk away from it. I did all of that. It kind of ended up making me feel way better. I in the end, I felt much better knowing that I have a lot of support. Just being it, because I couldn't call, like most of my friends think I'm very precious, and that's okay. So I couldn't call them crying about like a leaky water from my radiator. Like they'll be like, what is wrong with you, princess? Because look, I have a hard life, but sometimes my friends think that I am just precious about like petty things, and that's okay. Like I cry about the smallest thing that disrupts my routines and habits. I will cry like a baby, okay? But I also like to think I'm a very strong person. But the thought of a man in my house drunkenly making accusations that I couldn't fight unearthed a level of vulnerability for me that I didn't think that I had at all. Up until now, look, I've lived in England for nearly 2 decades. Like, I'm literally part of the fabric of being here, and I have never like thought, oh, I mean, if you think about safety, you think about when you're walking in your local neighborhood and the place is not lit, you have to be careful, you have to take safety precautions. Those are to be expected. But when you're sat in your house and you've worked with workmen who come and they are polite and they do their job and they interact with you, like say a workman coming to my house and sort of interacting with me inappropriately is not something I have ever experienced before. Most of the workmen that I have encountered since living in this house have just been the most astute, nice, like man's man sort of people. So this sort of experience has just made me feel like there's always the old one, isn't it? Oh, Lollipop, thank you. Thank you. Oh, I just cry about the little things, but I get over it pretty quickly. But it's great. I was thinking about you. I was like, oh, Lollipop. I was like, lollipop is hard at work. Anyway, that is me and my little experience with the gas guy. But yeah, I think I've been mouthing off about this entire experience. I've missed the entire chat. So let's get on to some cake, right? Let's get on. I kind of feel like I need a cup of tea. But we have some random cake. Is it random or it's cake? They are imperfect cakes that we are trying to turn into something good, okay? So let's get to it. Because you can't always have a perfect cake to make a cake out of. So what happens if you have an imperfectly shaped cake and you have to turn it into something? What do you do? So let's get to it. Now, first things first. We have a lopsided cake. This is what it looks like. And then we have the top that is not so great. So what do we do? First of all, if you want to be able to get this, first let's start with the top. So we want to level this out. Okay. We want to level this out. And then there, and then we will get this out too. So that we can get a, see? A trim cake. Okay, so this cake is, we've almost got rid of the lopsidedness, but it's still not like a straightly formed cake. We will fix that when we come to it. So at this point, you can still use the serrated knife to mark it so you can get the layers right. Like, look at the cake, it's tunneled in the middle. So this is not a great looking cake, but at least we've got the layers right. It's tunneled. Tunneling happens when the batter, you put too much air in the batter and it creates air pockets, and the air pockets blow up when the cake is baking and they expand, causing hollowness in the middle of your cake. So there we have it. This is fine over here, but as you can see, it's tunneled again and it's very hollow. So we're going to try and level this out again. Okay, there you go. And then we will level the top too. And just like that, we have two cakes that are leveled. There you go. Yep. Still have some tunneling in there, but we've got the cakes right. And there you have it. So with the cake like this, you can then fill and stack. In due course, I'll be back for us to fill and stack this cake. And if you missed the first one, we were supposed to be filling and stacking this 6-inch, and there's a 5-inch here. So we are filling and stacking both. Just gonna move this to the side and then we'll clean the worktop. Let's get, oh. Okay. Now, question. What are we doing with this cake? Should we just chuck them? Or should we pretend we can do something with them? I think in my head, I feel like I can do something with them. We don't want to waste cake. We don't waste cake here, do we? I don't feel like we can do something. We can definitely do something. You could, yeah, okay. I just saw a comment there about the offcuts. So if you have a tunneled cake like this, if it's a customer cake, okay, if it's a customer cake, I will rebake. The reason why we are seeing this cake is that once I realized the tunneling was there, I decided to rebake the cake, because this is part of the cakes left over from the corporate bake, if you like, the cake I made for the corporate order. These are the offcuts from the bottoms of the cake themselves, which I have stacked and filled out. And these were 2 of the 5-inch cakes that had the tunneling issue. So if they are because you know what, there is science in baking, and the science, whilst you can always predict, because if you follow the processes, you can achieve your results, there's also an element of unpredictable to the science of baking, right? So in baking for that corporate order, same recipe, same processes, I had so many issues. And that may also be because of the heating in the oven, because when you have your oven going on for nearly 10 hours in the day, you don't know how the heat performs over there, or how it radiates in the oven, and how it affects your result. Perhaps you get your best result after the first 3 hours, and the rest of the time it's overheating. I don't know, but I had burns. The cake, same temperature, but the cake was burning, and all of the stuff in between. So I say that to say, there's an element of unpredictable when it comes to cake baking and decorating itself. So if you are making a cake for a customer and the cake tunnels, my biggest recommendation, just rebake the thing. Your customers deserve better, okay? Because the thing with tunneling is, it's not like the cake is not cooked. It's cooked. But this hard bits comes with a texture issue and a smell that doesn't make great for your eating experience. But if it's not for a customer, one thing you can do is you can core the middle out. And in the past, when I'm making cakes for family and friends and tunneling has happened, or when I'm running, say, a recipe test and tunneling has happened, what you can do is you can get, I use a circle cutter to core the middle for a clean cut. So it takes out the middle out together, and then you can put some offcuts of cake to fill it up, or you can then use the middle as a source to kind of fill your cake with either a filling of choice. So where I am using jam, I'll fill the middle with jam and then add buttercream. But depending on how deep the tunneling is, it may mean you have to core maybe all your cakes, and filling the inside with jam altogether can be a lot. So the best thing you can do is core the middle and then add some proper cake to fill it back up, and then stack your cake as normal. By the time you fill the cake with extra cake and then add buttercream and everything else, nobody will notice the difference when they cut into the cake. So that's how I will recommend you handle your tunneled cakes. But so can you see, look at this here, this was just what you call a superficial tunnel, because it started here and it ended there, and some of them do really go through the middle, through the entire cake, except this was just superficial for both cakes. So there you have it. So that is something to you can do. The suggestion of what we can do with our leftover cakes and making them into cake pops, I have nothing against cake pops, but if I'm making cake pops for demonstration, Okay, if I'm making them for demonstration, that's different. Okay, they're easier to do as demonstration, but cake pops themselves, they're fiddly and they take a long time to make, and then people don't really value them in terms of pricing because they are more expensive than your regular decorator cupcake, you know. I tell you, cake pops are really like that expensive because by the time you make the cake pops, you press them into the mold, you sit them, you cover them in the chocolate or candy melt, and then create decorations. That's a lot of processes. So I don't like making cake pops. As a baker, it's one of the things I don't like at all. Like cake pops, I hate them. I literally, there's not a lot of things there are things I dislike in the baking and decorating processes. Like the baking process, like organizing ingredients is not something I enjoy. Like I wish I had somebody who just measures my ingredients and I just come and I do the job. Okay. I don't like coming to tidy up, setting the ingredients, staging. I don't like that at all. But I can't say I hate it. Like it's a slight inconvenience to take up as part of the job. You know, I mean, even if you love your job, you don't always like all the parts of your job, right? So when I'm recipe testing, I like the part where I am fixed on the details of the process. I love that. I can stay in this kitchen observing cake baking processes. I can stay in this kitchen all day with a cup of tea and do that, and I'm fine. But the moment I finish a task and I have to clean up and then reset and weigh ingredients, it's such a tedious thing, right? And for the decorating parts, I don't like this part, like the trimming of the cakes, the stacking. I just want to get to the part where it's fun. Let's decorate a cake, right? But even so, I won't say I hate it. I won't say I hate the parts I dislike. But I hate cake pops with a passion. So see the difference? You can dislike something, you may not enjoy doing something, and then you may completely just hate doing something. And cake pops, I hate them. Okay? Barbara suggests that I should fill the tunnel with cream. Yeah. The good thing though is that this cake is for demonstration. So we'll come, because the goal of these cakes are to kind of turn them from the imperfect cakes we were looking at to something rather great and better presented, you see. So we filled the 6-inch up, we've leveled the 5-inch together. So we are going to cover it, but not in this tutorial. We might be able to do that perhaps tomorrow when we come back. There was the promise of making Auntie Jackie's cake. People, I am still recovering from the trauma of my leaky radiator. So if you see Auntie Jackie in the streets, tell her that I'm still thinking about her cake. We will make it. When we will, I am not so sure. But otherwise, my people, how are we doing in the chat? Let me just wash my hands. I feel like we've done what we need to do today. Let me just wipe my workboard off. Did I say we wanted to cut our beef cake? Oh, not today, because we'll need to kind of wrap up soon. Ooh, fill the hole up. I just remember I have nice biscuit and I have them in a minute with lollipop. Are you rewarding yourself for your hard work? Okay. Right, my people. Okay. It's hard work being alive. I tell you who feels that way today. The Beckhams. I told you. I was telling you, even though we make cakes over here, it's been a long time since we delved into pop culture. delved into pop culture and random conversation about that. But if you haven't seen, people, grab yourself a seat. And boy, oh boy, it's all going to, oh, people, Barbara, Barbara, don't encourage her. Oh, God. It's all going to hell and back with the Beckhams. Who knows? If you've heard what's happened to them, put your hand up. Put a hand up in the chat if you know what's happened. And if you don't know, don't worry. You won't miss out. We'll tell you in a minute. Okay? We'll tell you. Because that's what we do over here. Okay? We'll tell you the business. Let me get a bowl. I have this idea of doing something. And that is what I am going to do. It's so random. Oh, lollipop. That's, I mean, you have given us the sort of appropriate summary. Yes, their son, their oldest son, doesn't talk to them. And that has been a story in the press for a little while now. Except yesterday, Barbara, except yesterday, the son who doesn't talk to them, is it Brooklyn? Yeah, Brooklyn, their oldest son. It has been like an ongoing thing in recent times that he doesn't talk to his parents, which, you know what, it's people's family drama. You know, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So, yeah, that's not our business if he doesn't talk to them. They made it our business when the fight broke out for us to see, because the son who doesn't talk to them has decided to come and tell us why he doesn't talk to them. And it's not, he didn't just go, oh, I don't talk to my mom and dad. He literally just went in and torched the whole thing. He told us about how in his family, his mom and dad are so controlling that they asked him to sign off his name when he was getting married. And if you don't understand that, it's a thing to do with branding and copyrights and, you know, the name Beckham. Like you and I, we have nothing to our name except the breath we have, which is a good thing. But when you have a Beckham name, that name is a business. So when your son is off to go and marry somebody, all you can think of is, you're about to ruin the business. Because if that person adopts our name, they have technically adopted a part of our business. And so by association, we are giving random people our children are marrying for credibility. And the Beckhams are not about that business, okay? They're about protecting the brand. So the son came to tell us how there was a deal. What? Look, he's put the whole message up. If you're on TikTok, you'll find it. If you read Daily Mail, you'll find it. If you go to Instagram, you'll find it. But essentially, he told us his family tried to get him to sign off his name, as in his name, and he refused. And since that affected whatever deal they made for him for his wedding, his family, which is his mom, he was very specific. He said his mom and dad haven't treated him the same since. He told us how the family has always tried to control things and throwing innocent people under the bus just to protect the family name. He told us how his mom doesn't like his wife, and on his wedding day, the first dance was his mom dancing so inappropriately on him. Now, I cannot get that out of my head because I'm like, what do you mean, Brooklyn? Was your mom gyrating? Was she sort of dancing in the way that every child, look, my 8-year-old is embarrassed if I try to even move my hip. He's like, Mom, no. Okay? And that's an 8-year-old. So is it because your mom tried to show some Spice Girls moves and you were like, Mom, no? Or was Mom dead drunk and was out here with leg to the wind, funny to the left? Like, we don't know. Like, like the fact that he said his mom danced on him inappropriately. It's such a loaded statement. Now I'm looking at Victoria and thinking, Victoria, what did you do? It's a mess. It's a mess. It kind of reeks. It rings of Harry and Meghan. That's all. It's crazy. It is. These streets are wild. Like the stuff the boy came to say. Oh, it's wild. Like now you think it is such. And the sad part about the internet, me or us included, is I'm just telling the story. This is just salacious for me, honestly. I don't have an opinion on whether he's right or wrong because I don't live his experience. Okay? The truth is, most of us can never relate to that kind of experience because, look, I always say, you know what? Sometimes in life, you gotta have real problems. Like growing up in Ghana, right? I'll give you an example. Please don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. But I'm just trying to draw a parallel home for you, right? Growing up in Ghana, right? We're talking abject poverty, okay? And when I'm talking abject poverty, I'm tempted to quantify that in materialistic terms, in terms of finances. Like, if you're growing up in a country like Ghana, where the wealth divide is so wide, and you live below the poverty breadline, and I cannot describe it. The sort of Western kind of poverty is a different poverty. It's posh. You still go and get universal credit, okay? You will still get housing. That is not to negate your experience here when you're poor. But it's different. It's also different from my part of the world where you don't even have that kind of support to begin to even like. Children are dying. A pregnant woman has to work. And look, I'm not perpetuating the belief that a third world country is so impoverished, but it's also truth. If you've seen the Anthony Joshua accident in real time when it happened, I didn't watch it. I just saw the highlights. I really didn't want to go and see people who are like massacred by the roadside. So that's something to know. But if you saw that accident, the nature and the gruesome nature of that accident and the fact that there was no paramedics promptly on site, that's the kind of level of unorganized type of like, we don't have a system and a structure to support us like that. So when you are poor, like dead poor, you have no business campaigning for these people. What do they call them? Is it just oil? Them people who, I don't know. When I say don't shoot me, I'm drawing a real life parallel. You know, those people who were campaigning and going just oil, and they are going around and chucking oil and they say, is it the oil in whatever they are campaigning for, okay? My gripe is not their campaign. They have strong reasons to campaign and good for them. I have nothing about the campaign. The parallel I'm drawing here is that if you grow up in my part of the world, okay, where hunger and poverty is a real thing and you wake up every day trying to survive, you ain't got time to go and be doing just oil protests, okay? That's kind of posh. So I say that to say that me or some of us out here can never relate to the kind of privilege and the problems that are associated with people like your Harry and Megans and your Brooklyns. We cannot. Like, and the sad part is this, right? Because we cannot relate to them, I wish they were smart to know that they are crying about their problems in a marketplace that will never understand or relate to their issues. Now, is that reason for them to not complain? I don't think so. I mean, the reason why they are complaining is that perhaps they are so suffocated by this ecosystem that they feel forced to scream. So when people like your Harry and your Meghan and your Brooklyns are on the internet street shouting about their real problems and experiences, it is very valid for them that the experience is true. What I don't understand is they are talking to we, the great and washed over here, who do not, because when you look at the internet comment, the comments are like, yeah, you will be a nobody without your mom and dad. But the truth also is true. Two things can be true. He didn't ask to be born a Beckham. It was just a lottery by birth that he was born rich and associated to sort of a dynasty, for that matter, if you like, right? So just because they gave him a name, should he have to endure what he feels has been such an undeserved experience, more so close to torturous experience in his eyes? I don't think it is fair for us to accuse him of being ungrateful, petty, all the negative things that the internet streets are associating with to him. They say he's ungrateful, he is petty, and he is entitled. All these things. I don't know if he's ungrateful or petty. One thing I do know is that he must be in such a crappy position to be able to want to talk so openly about his parents, who are otherwise so revered and respected thanks to the machinery that has made them. Do you see what I'm saying? So, and we, the great unwashed over here, like, we should also have the sense of mind to know that we don't know these people. We don't know David Beckham. We don't know Victoria. We have a perception of what they have informed us with. And it's only a minuscule of them, which is the perception we have is a brand cultivated action. Like, he has PR expert, he has social media people, he has like experts in every way that have made sure that what we are seeing of them is built for purpose. That's not the real person. We don't know how he poops in his toilet. We don't know how he talks to his children really when the cameras are not on. So we really don't know these people. And we need to have the sense of mind to see that when Brooklyn Beckham or Harry and Meghan are out here shouting about their problems, we can just put on a critical thinking heart and just be like, okay, we hear you. Now what? And the what is, now that he's come and told us what his parents are doing behind the scene, what was the goal? Is it to warn them that I am just about to torch the dynasty if you don't leave me alone? Is it a threat in an open market to say your brand is at risk if you don't leave me alone? And so if that's the goal, then David and Victoria better get the word and be like, okay, we'll leave you alone. We can't disown you, but so be it. And then everybody goes. Because this business of like telling us about your mom and dad, to be honest, we do not care. That's all. It is such a sad occurrence, but the Beckhams have done a good job by making themselves so household. We don't know anyone. Only what we are told. And even what we are told, you know, we need to be very savvy about what we are told. Like when you are listening to something, don't take it for what it is. Don't take it for gospel. Even the news we read every day, these news people are not in the business of telling you the truth every day. They are in the business of selling you propaganda. So the news, Daily Mail covering, oh, Beckham doing good and out here. Yeah, he's there doing good, but what is his intention? Is it that he wants us to remember and perceive that he's a good guy doing good in the world, which adds a feather to his brand? Or he's being paid money to do a job that he would otherwise not care about? These are all things we as people have to think about. But the truth is, we don't care anymore. We are all like this. Life has changed so much. Like when we wake up and we are hungry and we are fighting for survival, we do not care the distraction they are selling us. Yep, you only have to, because we don't know these people. Like this whole business, I know, like I have had strong opinions about Harry and Meghan, and it remains so. It remains so that, do I think that they had real problems with the monarchy? I sure do. Do I think that the complaints Meghan raised about how she felt in terms of her color, were there elements of truth to it? I sure think so. Now, when I put on my critical thinking hat, that is not to dismiss her experience that may have been true. I am questioning how she went about it to hold these people accountable. Because if the thing about this, her color thing, her child color thing she raised, okay, if it was that bad, look at where we are how many years later. And clearly, it seems like they want back in. And if not fully back in, they still want to be able to enjoy the privileges of the same system that you claim was weaponized against you and your offspring. And I'm like, how does that make sense? Were they that bad? Because for most of us regular people who have had a bad experience with an employer, when we leave, we're gone. And if you don't go and you want to take them to court and you call ACAS and you go to mediation, you are making sure you are prepared. And where you are not prepared and you feel like the experience has been so horrifying for you, you are not out here trying to monetize that experience. In fact, most people who have gone through such an experience want it forgotten, okay? They don't want to think about it. And when you do think about it, you want to do some good with it, either by actually informing or raising a form of activism in a positive way so that your experience doesn't get passed on to another person. You don't set up shop and create a whole business just on the back of the fact. Imagine the Jeffrey Epstein people. Why are we talking about? Imagine the victims of Jeffrey Epstein people, like setting up an online shop, selling socks and towels. And you're like, why are you selling socks? This is such a random example, but hear me when I say, like, if you were a victim of Jeffrey, right? And now we know your name, like the poor girl who passed away. If she was still alive and she went and she set up, like, a good example of her story is what she did. Like, she never gave up. She made sure she was out in the streets, even though she made some mistakes. My point is, she was out here trying to hold these people accountable. Unfortunately, she passed anyway. But my point is, if she was still here and we all heard she gained fame and notoriety from that experience, and she goes and she sets up an online shop and she says, I'm selling sweets and I'm selling candy, how would we feel? We'll be looking at her thinking, no SA, a real SA victim wants to sell candies on the back of such a horrid experience. And so when you put your critical thinking hat on and you think, Harry and Meghan said all of these things, and the opportunity for Meghan to be out here campaigning for a real change in a system that at 2026 shouldn't be profiling individuals based on the color of their skin. All she's done is run around Instagram, hug her husband, and have her ass out. Let's be real about that. Like, have half her ass out, dress up in fancy clothing, and sell jam. My people, let me just take my shouty mouth away, okay? We have talked about the Beckhams. We have talked about the stress of my leaky boiler. We have made some cakes. I am going to drink tea, clean my kitchen, and then tomorrow we'll be back covering these and doing some more cake related stuff, okay? Hopefully I'll have more energy, but otherwise, happy baking. Have a good one. I'll go catch up on the chat and we'll chat properly tomorrow. Today I'm like, see you in the next one.